Hey everybody, welcome to Darvanalee Designs Studio. For those that don't know, my name's Nicole Reed and today we are here for our advent opening, stitch with me and book reviews. I've got a few books to get through. So let's get stuck straight into the advent opening so we can cut over to the stitch with me and then we can get into the books that I've read. Alright, so we're going to start with this crazy mystery one. It's been a bit of a laugh and we're up to day 21, so I'll just get that out. And as you can see, it is all packaged up. It feels soft, this one. Ooh. Ooh. Let me see if I guess this right. I reckon it's a feather. What do you reckon? We've had everything else. I reckon it's a feather. Oh, I'm right. It's not one feather, it's a heap of feathers. So we've got lots of little feathers. Little, like out of your boas. Awesome. Not too often I've guessed these right. So we've got some colourful feathers. There we go. Look at that. This has been hilarious, I tell you. Oh, it's just a little bit of fun. Like, I didn't pay a lot for it, and you know what, there's been a lot of stuff that I will be able to use throughout my next year of journaling and stuff like that, so it's not all lost at the end of the day. All right, so let's just move on from our colorful little feathers. I might be able to use them in something in my journal. You just never know where it's going to take you. So this one is book 21. It actually feels like a hardcover, this one. So I love the colourful paper on this one. Whoever wrapped this one was not so heavy on the sticky tape like we've had in the last couple of days. Alright, so let's get this open. House of Names by Colm Tobin. So, he creates a suspense out of the simplest of emotions. Fear, love, and the most poignant regret and regret from the times. Okay, House of Names. From the thrilling imagination of bestseller, award-winning Colm Tobin comes this ambitious, violent, and modern retelling of one of our oldest and most enduring stories. All right. I have been acquainted with the smell of death. Well, that's a bit drab. A bit doom and gloom. Alright. Oh, yeah, there's some good words in this one. Judged, despised, and cursed by the gods. She has long since lost faith in the murderous... I can't say it. I don't know if you can see it, but that's the word there. Oh, yeah, there's some big ones. Agamemnon is the next one. Tells of the deception of Agamemnon. I think that's how you pronounce it. How he sacrificed her eldest daughter, her beloved. Oh, this book's going to kill me to try and read. I'm going to have to do like Google. How do you say this? See if Google can say it. Oh, if you can't laugh at yourself, you know, life's not worth living, really, is it? If that's the case. Anyway. Oh, I can pronounce that one. Electra, daughter of a murdered father, loyal subject to the rightful king, studies and her lover with cold anger, slow burning cunning. She watches as they walk the gardens and the corridors of the palace. She waits for the traitors to become complacent, to believe they are finally safe. She waits for her exiled brother, for the boy to become a warrior, yada yada yada. So it's a story of the gods, basically. So there you go. I know that someone in this household will steal that straight away. That I, on the other hand, will have Google at the ready to put in the names of them and get the right pronunciation. I swear, people, I can read. I really can. names and the right pronunciation will always get me every single time. So yeah, I can read really, and if I didn't have to read that out loud, I would probably be able to say that in my head. It's just trying to get my tongue around it, and it just doesn't happen. So I may go through the whole book and just skip the names, but no, I'll probably have Google. Anyway, that looks like a really interesting book. We'll get into that next year. All right, let's move on to our diamond painting one. What's the date today? 21st. There we go. Ah, all over the place. All right, this has got something little in it. Oh, what's in this? All right, it's a multi-placer, but a steel one. These are good. I actually more like the metal ones. They're a lot better. I actually have a set of larger multi-placers, so I think it's got like 5 or 6 in it. That you can place at a time, and they're so sturdy compared to the plastic ones. I find the plastic ones don't hold the wax as well. They hold the wax okay, but they don't hold it for as long as the metal ones. So that's another good little gadget to have in my tools. And I don't think I've actually got the small one, or maybe I do. I can't remember. I'll have to have a look. All right, we've only got 3 more days left until we're finishing up opening our advents. How exciting! The big guy in red will be here soon. Lots of presents and all the rest of it will be floating around. Now, I don't normally do this, but I wanted to show you something that I got today. I just got it like today. I was out taking Narrowly Christmas shopping and I found these. Now, if you remember a couple of weeks back, and I'll just go grab it. Remember I talked about this book. I wasn't too sure what I was going to use it for, and the lovely Gail gave this to me as a present, and it's a notebook and it has all the artwork and stuff in it. Well, found some gratitude oracle cards by the same artist. Okay, so I thought that I could put my readings into this, so I just wanted to share that with you today. I haven't looked at them yet, but you can see on the back that the I paid $35 for them, but I'm not trying to hold down. I'm just trying to hold it so you can see it. So it's got all the artwork and everything in it. Very much up my alley as far as artwork goes. And so I've got them together, and I thought when I feel the need to, you know, do a reading or whatever for myself, I could actually put it into that. So that, my friend Gail, is what I'm going to use your journal, the lovely journal that you sent to me. So I will be doing some readings when I'm doing some diamond painting and all the rest of it, and then I will jot them down and just have my thoughts and everything about them as well. So thank you very much, Gail, for the journal, and thank you very much to Amethyst Moon, which is a local shop here in Kingaroy, for stocking such beautiful oracle cards. But let's head over and do some stitching, and talking of books and all the things that I have read in the last 2 weeks, week and a half, something like that. Alrighty, let's head on over. Alright, so we are stitching on Holiday Quaker. I haven't stitched on this for a while, as you know, so we'll get some more stitches into it. This is by Lila Studio. It's called Holiday Quaker. We are working this area here at the moment. I would have liked to have got a little bit more stitching into this, but, you know, life just gets in the way sometimes, doesn't it? Alright, so let's get stitching on this. Just adding a couple of extra needle minders. Pieces like this, I have it everywhere. I can't remember whether I told you or not, but I got my threads, excuse me, they came in, so I'm now set to go. So once I finish stitching on this come Christmas, I'm going to take a picture. This will be put into my No New Starts album next year, for next year. So I'm doing No New Starts, Work My Whips. The reason I'm doing Work Your Whips is because I'm a model stitcher for Down the Rabbit Hole magazine, mainly my own designs, and so I have to be able to do those, so I declare those and all the rest of it. So we are going to talk a little bit about the books that I've read in the last couple of weeks and all the rest of it, so let's get stuck into that. All right, so the books that I have read in the last couple of weeks are a couple of bingo prompts. We've got a couple of classics, another Virgin River book. I've got all my notes written in my book here, just to keep me up to date with what I'm talking about, so I don't get lost or anything like that, because I've read a few books. So one of the bingo prompts, well, actually, we've done 2 in the last couple of weeks because it has been a little while since I've done a book review at Stitch With Me because I've been super busy and I just haven't had time to sit down and stitch really. So basically, I done a pre-recording, so that's why you can see my face up in the corner, and I've done the pre-recording for the Stitch With Me and also the Advent opening as well. So let's start talking about the books that I've read, shall we? As I said, I have read another Virgin River book, so we're up to book 14 in that series, and it was a Christmas one. So it was Bring Me Home for Christmas. It had 313 pages. It was published in 2011. I started this on the 14th to the 12th, and I finished it on the 15th. Again, I am listening to these, not reading them. And I got my audiobooks from Scribe this time. The narrator of these books is Therese Palmer, and it is basically set in California, Virgin River, California. It's a romance Christmas book is the genre, and it's by Robin Carr. So for those that don't know who the writer of the Virgin River books are. So basically it is just following the story of Denny Cutler. Now, he's been mentioned in a few of the books, especially around Gilly Farms. So I'll just move my microphone so you can hear me properly. So it's just following his story now, so which we thought that was what was going to happen when we finished reading book 13. And actually I thought there would be more of him in book 13 than, because he was also mentioned in book 12 as well. So, but basically this is his story. Now it's following him and Becca Timms. Now Becca is his ex-girlfriend, so essentially, and they split up 3 years prior. He lost his mum and everything, and then he went back to war and basically split up with her, and she never really got over him, and I don't think he really got over her either. And one thing led to another, and they've ended up in Virgin River together. So Denny lives in Virgin River. He originally came there looking for his biological father because his mother told him that that's where he was. Turns out that wasn't the truth, and all the rest of it. So needless to say, he has fitted right into the Virgin River scenery, and he's made a great start to life for himself there. And he's really settled. He's found a lot of friends, and he's found a lot of what he classes as family now, and he helps everybody. He's just a really good, down to earth character, and quite helpful and stuff like that. So he flits around the town helping everybody and all that sort of stuff. Very generous with his time. So Becca, he's also friends still with Becca's brother, and so Becca's brother had organised a hunting trip, and Becca tagged along, and that's how she ended up in Virgin River. Anyway, she is actually seeing someone, and she felt like that she was going to marry him. And then essentially this character showed his true colours, and basically, she just needed time to put some things to rest and all the rest of it, and make sure that she was doing the right thing. So she's gone to Virgin River and on this hunting trip, and basically Denny wasn't too impressed that she was there. Anyway, they've gone on this hunting trip and all the rest of it, and Denny decides that he's got to go back to help in town with some things, and so he takes Becca with him. They have a heated discussion. She tells him to stop the car, stops the car. She goes to get out and falls out and goes down the side of the embankment on the side of the road. And I know I'm laughing. I shouldn't laugh, but I could just imagine me doing something like that in anger, jump out of the car and then wreck myself. So that's essentially what she's done. She broke her ankle, and subsequently that meant that she couldn't, because she had to have surgery on her ankle and get pins put in it and all that sort of stuff. So she couldn't leave Virgin River, and Denny was looking after her. So it is a romance story. We know what's going to happen here, and that's where it sort of goes. So basically, there was a little bit of toing and froing and all that sort of stuff, and everything was great while all his friends were still in town, and her brother was still in town. He felt like that he could behave himself and all that sort of stuff. And then they left town and he got very strange and all the rest of it because he felt like he couldn't control himself and he wanted to be with her and all that sort of stuff. So it was quite an interesting story. It was quite, actually, I found myself giggling quite a few times reading this book. It was just very lighthearted and, you know, like blind Freddie could see what was going to happen. It wasn't, I wouldn't say this is one of her better storylines, but it was quite lighthearted and it was funny in certain aspects, and just like I could see myself doing something stupid like that, as I said, jumping out of the car and hurting my ankle and then getting stuck with the person that you didn't want to be with and all that sort of stuff. So it had you know, like and she's a teacher as well, so she had lost her job and everything because the school had closed down. They couldn't get funding and all that sort of stuff. And obviously that's an American type thing, because there's been a little bit of that sort of stuff all through these books where there's things that I don't quite understand the politics of it and all the rest of it. So it's very American in that aspect. But this school closed down because they couldn't get funding and all the rest of it. So subsequently, she was without a job. So it didn't matter whether she was home and all the rest of it. She ended up like splitting up with the guy that she thought she was going to marry, because he turned out that he just wanted a trophy wife in the end, and she just wasn't cool with that. She wasn't down with that. So so she ended up throwing herself into the Virgin River atmosphere because it was a Christmas time, so they do like community boxes and they do this, that and the other to help the more unfortunate people in their district and all the rest of it. They pretty much look after their own is what they allude to in the book. So she got involved in that. She was helping some kids with their homework at the church and all that sort of stuff. And she was very adamant that she was going to leave Virgin River and all the rest of it. And so that's the story that they're working on. Like it as I said, Blind Freddie could see that they were going to end up together, but the story was that, you know, is Denny going to stay or is he going to, you know, go with her? And, you know, are they both going to stay there or are they going to have this long distance relationship and all that sort of stuff? So it was a really good book. It was lighthearted. As I said, it touched on a couple of other things, like it centered it around Christmas because it's called Bring Me Home for Christmas. It was about feeding the homeless and the less fortunate, and, you know, and just trying and also looking at the, you know, distances that people have to travel to go to school and stuff like that, and trying to get, is it elementary school? So like the lower end of the schooling years into their little town and stuff like that. So it sort of went back to its roots of, you know, finding people to be teachers, police officers, nurses, all that sort of stuff and whatnot. So I gave it my standard 4 stars out of 5. I really enjoy this series, so I'm always going to give it a 4 out of 5. I mean, it'd have to be a pretty bad book for me not to give it to a 4 out of 5. So, yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it. As I said, I'm up to book 14. I think I've only got 4 more books left in the series. I may get another one read before the end of the year. Oh, and what I'm talking about, that was my 99th book. I have actually gone over the 100 mark. I think I'm up to my 103rd book now because I finished 102 last night. I'd have to check that. If you're following me on Goodreads, you already know the answer to that. All right. So the next one that I read, which I pretty much started as soon as I finished listening to the Virgin River one, this was another audiobook. I've mainly listened to audiobooks in the last couple of weeks because I haven't had a lot of time. I'm still reading Daisy Jones and the Six because I just haven't had time to pick up the book and read. I'm getting a couple of, 15 minutes, 30 minutes in the morning while I'm drinking my coffee, but then I'm hitting the ground running during the day and helping Brendan tie up all his loose ends. And I've been doing driving lessons and I've been running kids to and back from work and all that sort of stuff. So it's just been a bit crazy in that aspect. So hopefully I can get that finished on Christmas Day, because chances are my family ain't going to get out of bed until bloody 12 o'clock or something. So there's no opening presents early because Mia's not spending Christmas with us this year. In fact, we haven't been able to see Mia since the last school holidays, and we've only spoken to her once on the phone. Her mum has decided that, we're not seeing her for whatever reason. Her mum's decided, I don't know why, but apparently we're not seeing her. So, but it is what it is, and we're not going to let it affect us and all that sort of stuff. But anyway, I digress. Let's get back to book reading. All right, so this was a bingo prompt, and I started this on the 15th of December and I finished it on the 16th of December because I just really needed to get through it. I use this as a motivational tool just to keep me going with sewing bags and all the rest of it. I think I ended up sewing up 20 bags or something while listening to this. So that was, that was some cutting and sewing as well. So this is Nora Roberts, and it was a bingo challenge, this one. So I had to read a book with the same, and the author's initials had to be the same as mine. So I actually had two choices. In hindsight, I think I should have went with my other choice because I actually have two names. So I am Nicole Bahaja and I'm also Nicole Reed. Online, I'm Nicole Reed, but by law, which is my alias, by law, I am Nicole Bahaja. And it's on my Facebook page. Like you can see that I'm Nicole Reed because that's what I go by, which is my husband's name. And but we're not actually married, so there's no formal paperwork. So I still have to use that for all legal purposes. I mean, Nicole Bahaja I have to use for legal purposes, but I can, in my country, legally use another name as long as I declare that. And because I live with him and all the rest of it's declared. So, so I had two choices. I can't remember what my other choice was. Hang on, I'll just grab my phone. I'll be able to tell you. I think I've still got it set up in there. I really wish I have gone with my other one, but then you don't know. So I ended up going with Nora Roberts, but I could have gone with Nina Borden. And she has a book called The Witch's Daughter. I really wish I had went with that one on that. But, you choose what you choose. And so I chose Nora Roberts, and this was called Born in Fire. Okay, it's 416 pages. It was published in 1994. It's in the genre of romance. I found this on Scribe again. The setting is in Ireland, and the narrator is Fiasca. I think it's how it's pronounced, Douglas. So it was a gentleman that was reading. Was it? Was it a guy? I don't know. I listened to so many audiobooks. I think I may have got it mixed up. Can't remember. No, female. Anyway. It was the first time that I've read a Nora Roberts. I don't know. It wasn't a great book. Like, it wasn't, I don't know, maybe because it was a romance and all the rest of it, and it was set back in you could tell it was written like almost 30 years ago. There was the certain things that were said in the book, and it was the vernacular of the day, the trendy word, the trendy sort of sayings and stuff like that. I only gave it a 3-star rating. I probably should have only given it a 2-star rating because it wasn't that great. And that's why I say I don't know whether I'll actually read anything more of hers. I don't think she's the writer for me in the way of romance. And that's probably because I like the likes of Danielle Steele and from that era, and Jackie Collins was another one that I used to read a bit of, because I used to read a lot of books that were like textbooks and stuff like that, because at that time I was studying and stuff like that, so I was always learning stuff. And I do read a lot of books like that, like knowledge books, things that you're learning from, things that you're using brain power for. So back when I was reading prior to the last couple of years, I would read books like Danielle Steele, Jackie Collins, because I call them Clayton's books. And if you're as old as me, you probably remember the Clayton's, which is a alcohol ad called A Drink When You're Not Having a Drink. I call them Clayton's books. So it's like, a book you're reading when you're not really reading a book. Do you know what I mean? Because they're just easy. You can whip through them. Like I can burn through a Danielle Steele book in a day. They're that easy to read. And the same as Jackie Collins as well. And it's just, they were books that I used to just read. And so I guess I like that sort of romance. And now I sort of like the romance like Virgin River, where it's romance, but it's not at the same time. There's more like day-to-day living. You've got other subplots through there and all the rest of it and all that. Whereas there was no real other subplots in this book of Nora Roberts. It was just you had the two main characters, you had a couple of side characters, but they were heavily involved with the main characters. There was no sort of side things happening and all the rest of it. And I think for me, I need a couple of different things happening in a book. So like with the Virgin River ones, there's usually, you know, your main two characters. So we had Denny and Becca, but you also had other characters being introduced into the books that would set up for the next book and stuff like that. This one is actually part of a trilogy, so there is actually 3 books to this off the top of my head. I think the other one is, this one was Born in Fire. I think the other one is something to do with ice. And no, not the drug ice. Let me just find it. I found another good series as well, which I'll get onto that. So there's Born in Ice and then Born in Shame. That in this book, this trilogy. So I am going to finish it because it did just sort of leave off, left you sort of hanging on that. So I will finish it. Like, it's not that bad that I wouldn't finish the series, but it's, I guess, because it's different, and that's why I felt the way I do about it. So it basically follows Maggie, who is a glassblower. She's the main female character, and then there's Rogan Sweeney. He's the main male character. He's an art dealer. Basically, she creates these works of art. He really loves them. He wants to acquire her as an artist for his gallery, and he's one of the biggest galleries around the world, and so he shows all over the place and stuff like that. She's very strong-willed and independent and knows her own mind, and you know, is very adamant that she's not going to get married and all this sort of stuff. And sometimes she comes across quite rude and all the rest of it, and quite testing. Like, I probably would have told her, you know what, stuff you. But anyway, it's a book and it's supposed to be a romance. It was a hard-working romance. So basically, he comes along, he sort of falls for her, he's very attracted to her and all the rest of it, and he's quite strong-willed and independent himself as well. So there was a bit of clashing, and there was a bit of toing and froing in the book and all the rest of it. I found it a little bit drab. Like, it was just get on with it already, I felt like I was saying a couple of times. But at the, you know, there was a storyline there that coming from her childhood, where she just didn't feel like she was good enough. Basically, that was sort of what I get. Her mother had a real mean streak and was really mean towards Maggie and all the rest of it, because she had Maggie with Maggie's father out of wedlock, I think, or when they were just first married, and she gave up a singing career and all that sort of stuff. So she was quite bitter and twisted. Is what people like that, I call them bitter and twisted people, because they get so hung up on the past that they don't see the beautiful future or present, or the beautiful future in front of them, because they're so hung up about what happened 20 odd years ago. And so I've always said they just become bitter and twisted, and they're not a nice human. Well, that's pretty much, that sums up Maggie's mother. You know, even though Maggie became quite a successful artist, and her first paycheck was like over £250,000, she bought a house for her mother, got help for her mother because her mother was old and needed help and all the rest of it. And you know, and she got rid of the debt for her sister and her bed and breakfast and all that sort of stuff. So she helped, and her mother still wasn't appreciative of that, and all the rest of it. So I don't know. It was all right. It was all right to read, but you know, 3 stars. That's all I can really give it on that. If you're not into romance, don't waste your time with it. I wouldn't waste your time with it, to be honest. Now that I've started a series, I have a problem where I can't not finish a series. Although I did get a definitely not finish, and I still may put this in the DNF file as well, because I'm not 100% sure. I'm not buying the books. They're part of my subscription on Scribe, so I might be able to just listen to it one day and just burn through it. Like, I think it only goes for about 6 hours at the speed that I listen to it. So that's like a day's work for me, which is not too bad. All right, so I'm going to leave that one there. Make of it what you will. It wasn't a great book. It's a general romance, basically. Quite honestly, Danielle Steele, Jackie Collins are way better than Nora Roberts, in my opinion. And before anybody hates on me, it is in my opinion. Okay. You have to be careful these days. This is just my opinion. You can take my opinion or you can tell me to bang it. It's up to you. Anyway, I have another bingo challenge here. This is my 101st book that I read. So with Nora Roberts, that put me on to the 100. I met my goal for the year, so I was super chuffed about that. That was awesome that I met that goal. I cannot believe that I have read so many books this year, and so many there's been a few that have been out of my realm of what I normally read and stuff like that. I have learned that I really love crime thriller books. And that I prefer, for romance, I prefer it to be like everyday life with a little bit of romance thrown in. Relatable, I guess. You know, you can see that could happen in any town, really. I mean, sometimes the romance is like, really, do we need to go here today? But, you know, it is part of the book. All right. So again, this was a bingo challenge as well. So it was this one wasn't, sorry. This is one that I just wanted to read. I'm looking at the wrong page. All right. So it was The Great Gatsby. I'm not really sure what's so great about The Great Gatsby. But anyway, let's move on, shall we? 200 pages in this one. It was published in 1925. The reason that I chose this book is because at this time of year, I always think about my grandma, and she was born in 1925. So that was another reason that I wanted to read it. I didn't have to purchase this one. This is a classic, as far as everybody says, it's a classic. And it was available, part of my membership, on Audible. So if you've got an Audible membership, you can get access to the Audible Plus catalog, I think it's called, and all the classics so far that I've wanted to read. So all the Jane Austen, Charles Dickens, F. Scott Fitzgerald, all the ones that I've looked up, Jane Eyre, the Brontes, they're all there. They've all been free and part of the premium plus catalog, I think it's called. I don't know what it's called, but anyway, it was in there, so I thought I'd read it. So I've got a lot of the classics that I've wanted to read for a while, and some of them I haven't read before, some of them I have read, some of them I read when I was younger, and I don't think I appreciated what they were about and all the rest of it. So back in August of this year, I decided that I was going to read the classics and revisit some as well. So like I've read To Kill a Mockingbird, and there's a few others that I've read as well, like the Christmas Carol, and what's the other one, like Little Women and all those sort of ones. I've read them all throughout, at one time or another when I was a teenager and stuff like that. So I'm revisiting a lot of those books because I don't think I really truly appreciated what they were when I was younger, because one, I either had to do them for school, or two, I was just reading them because I was told to read them. This time I'm actually making the choice to read them. So, but I have actually never read The Great Gatsby because that was done in year 11 and 12, and I didn't go to year 11 and 12. So I did go to year 11, but I left before they did it. So basically this has got 200 pages. It was published in 1925. The genre is in the classics. The format was an audiobook. The narrator I didn't get at the setting was in the USA. I started this on the 16th of the 12th, and I finished it on the 16th of the 12th. So you can see there that in 2 days, so from the 14th, I think it was, from the 14th to the 16th, I listed 3 books. So you can see how busy I was, because I just find another one. So as I said, I don't know what's so great about this book. I really didn't find it to be that exciting. I actually mentioned this to a couple of friends of mine, and they said, yeah, have you seen the movie? I went, no. They said, don't waste your time on that either. So I did go looking for the movie after I read this, and it's got who's the guy that plays Spider-Man? It's got him in it, and it's also got what's the other guy from Titanic? Leonardo DiCaprio. Names are just escaping me. Yeah, so this was actually this was read by Jake Gyllenhaal. So there's a few audiobooks on there that are actually written by A-list celebrities and stuff like that. So yeah, it was, I remember now that it was read by him. I just didn't write it down. So as I said, I just didn't really gel with this book. Like, I listened to it. I even slowed this book down to listen to it because Jake Gyllenhaal reads quite quickly. So I listened to this at like 125, I think it was, whereas normally I listen at 150 to 180. So it depends on the reader. One of the books that I just started listening to, and I'll get to that a bit later, I'll tell you about, like, whoa, it's so slow on normal speed. But anyway, I guess the only way I can sort of describe this book, now most people know The Great Gatsby and all the rest of it. It's basically, I don't know how to describe this book. I just didn't gel with it. I don't find it to be, I don't understand why it's a classic. Like, as I said to some of my friends, I could say something, but I probably shouldn't say it online because it's quite rude. But all I can say is Scott Fitzgerald, he knew the right people to get this book out into the public, because I didn't find it to be that great. And here's my opinion, whether it's right or wrong. I mean, I liked that the characters were flawed. They weren't perfect characters. I don't know. It was set in the time of Prohibition and all that sort of stuff. And you know, I guess it just doesn't float my boat. Like, it just, and it follows, like, it's following the story of like Daisy and Gatsby, you know, and people having affairs and all this sort of stuff. See, and that to me, that just doesn't, I've never really liked books that have been about that sort of stuff. So I'm guessing that's why it's just not gelling with me, and I just don't find it to be a classic. But there are so many other books out there that it would be way better than this. So I don't even know how. Like, so the only good thing I can say about, like, the characters, they were flawed, so that made them interesting in one aspect. As I said, I think it would have been in its time, like at the time, it probably was a great book. Like, was there really a lot of books? Did they have the amount of books to choose from that we have today back in that time? No, they didn't. You know, like, it was sort of just, yeah, I don't know. I really don't know how to express my feelings. Like, I'm looking at what I've written here, and all I keep saying is I just don't get it. Pretty much, in varying different sentences and formats. Like, I've written here at the beginning, Great Gatsby, I wouldn't say, I would say it's overrated. And I've just, yeah. I mean, it's a good book, but it's not a great book. Like, and it's got an all right story, but like, it was like, and the ending was so abrupt. Like, it just, yeah, like, I guess it felt like to me it could have gone on a little bit longer, and all the rest of it. At one point, like, I didn't even realize that, the spoilers here, okay, people. I didn't even realize that Gatsby was dead. And I actually had to go back and listen. Like, I went back and listened to it again, and I still didn't pick up where he got killed on that. Like, I just, yeah. And I guess the moral of the book that I took from it, that, you know, you're not, like, it was sad. He was killed, and then no one even turned up to the funeral. I think there was like a handful of people that turned up to the funeral, and this guy was supposed to be really popular and all the rest of it. Had all these parties, and, you know, and I mean, it's all about the privileged side of town and all the rest of it. He had these parties, and all these people used to go and all the rest of it. The guy died, and no one even turned up to his to the parties or anything like that. And like, and then, you know, he was obsessed with Daisy and all the rest of it, and like, she didn't even go to the funeral, didn't even send a flower, a sympathy card, or nothing, you know. There was no mention throughout the book of his parents or anything like that. Right at the end, his father turns up, and you know, he was proud of him because he had come there, but at the end of the day, he was a no good Nick, and he was a bootlegger, from what I can gather, from what my understanding is. He was into bootlegging and all the rest of it, because it was time of prohibition and stuff like that. Even the people that he done business with didn't even turn up to the funeral. So and as I I've actually written here, maybe the author just might have known the right people at that time and kissed some beep 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 beep. I'll let you make of that what you will. So that only took me 3 hours to listen to, so it wasn't so bad for the length of it and all the rest of it. I think it could have been a little bit longer. I think they could have touched on a little bit more. I felt it was a little bit vague. That's my opinion of that book. Whether you like that book or not, that opinion about that book, I can't say. But anyway, so the other book that I read, which I haven't taken any notes because, let's face it, we all know the story of A Christmas Carol. It was our final bingo challenge, which was to read a classic for the for our 12th prompt. We'd run them for 3 months. And so it was a nice way to end it. And I read my favorite Christmas book, A Christmas Carol. And the reason it's my favorite book is because sometimes as grown-ups, we lose the spirit of Christmas, and we all can be Scrooges at times, or the Grinch, or whatever you want to call it. Okay. But I like to read that book because sometimes it is just nice to be reminded that you need to be mindful of how you treat people and try to be a good person, essentially, is the pretty much the moral of that book, and you can go along and you can be a Scrooge and all the rest of it, but at the end of the day, don't expect people to, gravitate towards you or anything like that. I love the premise of the book. I love the story of it. I love the fact that it's, the ghost of Christmas past, Christmas present, Christmas in the future. I mean, I'm sure we've all seen the Muppet movie and all the rest of it, and there's been other movies out there about it and whatnot. I had this book read to me when I was younger. A strange book probably to read to a young person, but that's just the way my family rolled. It was one of the books that my grandmother read to me. It was also one of the books that my grandmother gave to me when I went to live with my parents. It was read to me. I read it throughout my life, not every year, just occasionally I would read it. I think this is probably about for me personally, reading it myself, I think it's probably about the 10th time. But it was read to me a lot as a kid. I just love the story and the premise behind it. And it is a good thing to remind yourself that, how you treat others and all the rest of it. It shouldn't just be at Christmas, in my opinion. I think it should be all the time that you treat people well, and you should share your generosity. And if you are wealthy or you are have excessive stuff or anything like that, you should share it, and you should share it with everybody. And that's just the feelings that I get from the book. But that is another book that I have read in the last couple of weeks. So I finished that. When did I finish that? Last night before. That didn't take long. I actually have a couple of copies of the book. I've got a children's classic that I got back in the 90s, and then I've got an edition that was published in 1939, and it has a couple of other books in it. Like it's 3 books in one. It's quite a lofty book. Like there's over 1,000 pages in it. And I also have it. I listened to this one on audiobook, and I also read the physical book as well. I didn't use the big lofty one because that's quite heavy, and it's at the back of the book, so you're holding the whole, like you're weighing the book down. But I used my children's classic one. I've got these classics that were when did I get them? I think it was from 89 through to 93. Once a month, a classic was coming out through the news agency, and it came with a little magazine that told you about the time, about the story, who the author was. You learned about the author, you learned about the setting of the place and all that sort of stuff. I don't think I've got the magazines anymore, but I definitely have the books. The books are actually going to be Savannah's, she has asked that she has them. My other kids have shown no interest in them whatsoever. So they will go to her and then she will pass them down the line. And I've got everything in there. I've got Tom Sawyer, Black Beauty, Little Women, Jane Eyre, Sherlock Holmes ones, all those sort of ones. I think there's like 35 different classics in there, and they were the popular classics for kids. So they were children's classics is what they were called. So they were written for children in mind. That so like things like Black Beauty and all that sort of stuff. So one of the books that was in that is Nicholas Nickleby, in that big book I've got, and I can't remember what the other one is, and it's inside, so I'm not going to go and get it. But I'm just checking my Goodreads now, and I am looking here. Have I taken everything over? Yes, I have. I have read 102 books at this point. I have actually started. I've still got Daisy Jones and the Six, which will be finished before the end of the year. That's a physical book that I'm reading, and I'm also listening to and physical booking The Name of the Wind. Is it? Yes, The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. It's got 662 pages, and oh my God, do not listen to the audiobook at normal speed. Right. Slow. I'm actually listening to this one at 180 and it's at a good speed. So I started that on the 16th and I'm just slowly reading through that. It's quite a large book that'll probably go into next year because I'm not really doing a lot of work out in the studio right now. So I'm just doing, playing around with my reading journal and getting that all set up and all the rest of it. So yeah, I'll just probably, when I'm coloring in and playing with all my textures and doing all my layouts and everything like that, I'll probably put that in and listen to it. It's a fantasy book and it was recommended to me. Who recommended it? Someone recommended to me. I can't think who it was now, but then I also seen it on a BooKtuber as well. So, and it was highly recommended. So I thought I'd give it a go. And it is the first book in the, let me just go to it. It tells me all this information on Goodreads. It is in the King Killer Chronicles, and it's the first book. So, yeah. And I'm up to, I think, chapter 4 or 5 on at the moment. There's a long way to go. I think that's page 40 or 50 or something. And I'll just listen to it like when I'm doing the dishes or something like that, and then I'll just get through it because it's not something that I normally read. So I'm trying to step myself out of my normal genres and see if I can't pick up some other authors to listen to and all the rest of it. So that is it as far as book goes and all the rest. So hopefully you've been enjoying our Advent opening of the books and all the rest of it. There's been some interesting books. There's only been one so far that I haven't gone, I want to read that. So, but I'm still going to give it a go and see how it may end up on my do not finish list. But I just didn't really gel with the description of it and all the rest of it. So we'll see how we go with that and what it ends up being like. But we've got some pretty nice books and some pretty amazing books. And the other day we had a tearjerker come through and all the rest of it. So, and then I've got the boxes as well that I also purchased from the book grocer as well. So we had a lot. I think I got 2 boxes of crime fiction. I got a normal, like just literary fiction, and I think I got a romance one as well, which I haven't opened because I sort of got that for myself for Christmas. So I can open that on Christmas Day. And then, of course, I've got all the Advent ones as well. But I'm pretty much sorted for books now. Then I've got a whole heap on my Kindle, and then I've got a whole heap on my audio. There's been a couple of books that have actually come through Kindle that I've got really cheap, and the audio attached to it was really cheap. Like the actual Kindle book was only like at 99 cents, and then the audio side of it was only $3.50. So I grabbed that because I got the audiobook or I've got the Kindle, so I can do either one. Probably most of those ones will listen to them as audiobooks during the work week, and then I'll do the physical books on the weekend and at night and in the morning. But that is it as far as books go. So thank you so much for joining me today. I do hope that you enjoyed this catch up on all the books that I read. Next time we meet for A Stitch With Me will be after Christmas on the Monday. I will have a few more books read. I do actually have the next Virgin River one lined up, and also the next Jessie Hunt books in the series. I think I've got 2 or 3 lined up for the end of the year. I've got a lot of stitching to do between now and the end of the year to get everything set up, and then we start all our challenges as well. We've also got those reading challenges, so I've got to get those books sorted as well. So thank you so much for joining me. I do appreciate it. This will be the last Christmas stitch with me, so I would just like to take the opportunity to wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. If you're not going to join me again for the rest of the week, because I know it is Christmas week and it is busy for everybody, but have a great Christmas with your family and friends and enjoy your time off. Stay safe, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me throughout the Advent opening. We've still got a couple more days to go. So if you want to see what books I've got and this crazy mystery one, come and join me again tomorrow for another Advent opening. Have a wonderful day, everybody, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye for now.